Okay, we're back at my usual spot. Usually I make sure the video is level, and it's not right now, but it's close. But I'm in such a rush because it's late. I want to take a shower before I go to bed, but I started this book and I cannot even wait to finish it. I'm 100 pages in, which is the limit I've been giving myself. I'm only gonna let myself read 100 pages a day. I need to read, I get my books from the library. Fun fact about me, I don't buy books because I don't really reread books unless like I really have nothing to read. I just think my soul knows that there's too many books out there for me to be using precious time reading books I've read before when I could read another one that could change my life. And I would not have been able to articulate that before it was just like, oh, I just can't reread books and I don't know why. But now I know that's why. Sometimes if I'm really in my feels or I really have nothing else to read, I will go back and read a book. Can't even remember when. I think I've reread like literally one book in my life. And I only own one book. I own 13 Reasons Why because that one it felt like it changed my life, but I haven't even reread that. I only bought it because I was like, I just have to own this book and I have to make my future kids read it. Anyways, I want to talk about this book. I'm only 100 pages in. This is before I let go so far. Okay, when I choose my books, I do read the synopsis every time because there's certain tropes that I just will not do, but I need to make sure it's like a book that I think I will at least have decent feelings about. I think one book that I had on my want to read was You Make a Fool Out of Something in Beauty or whatever. Every time I read the synopsis, something is wrong. I think she's gonna fall in love with like her ex dad or her boyfriend's dad or something. I don't know. But every time I read the synopsis, I can just tell I'm gonna hate it. Like, I'm not gonna like the girl. So I need to take it off my want to read. But yeah, I always read the synopsis first. But by the time the book gets to me or I get to reading the book, I don't remember the synopsis. I was mostly in a rush to read this one because it's popular and I have to return it to the library and on the 12th, and it's like the 7th right now. And that's why I was calculating how many pages I need to read a day. It was like 70 something, but the book was so good. I was like, okay, Mickell, get to 100, but then like go do other life things because I have other stuff to do. So 100 pages a day is my max. Will I listen to that? I listened today because I know I have to take a shower and I have to go to sleep if I don't want to be dead at work tomorrow, but we'll see. Anyways, what else was I saying? I think I feel like I was just jumping around so much I didn't finish a thought. I don't reread books. I forgot the synopsis, and I was saying that to say what is happening so far in this book. There's Yasmin and Josiah, and they're both divorced, 2 years divorced, and I don't know how long they were together for. I think it was a long ass time. Basically, it's just like 2 years after their divorce. Some things that led to the divorce was a miscarriage with their third child. It was a stillbirth, so very traumatic for our main character, Yasmin. And then traumatic for the whole family, but especially for the mother who had to birth a child that was already passed on. And then 2, they had a aunt, Josiah's aunt, who passed away a couple months before the stillborn was born. So with all that trauma and stuff and just different things, they ended up divorcing. She suggested the divorce. From what I've read so far, it seems that Josiah was pushing against the divorce every step of the way, but eventually the divorce did go through. It also sounds like the divorce was a long process, which I've heard divorce is a long process, but I was shocked to hear how long it sounded in the book. But yeah, so why I have to talk about this now, because I don't want to forget all the things I was thinking when I was reading this book. I like to post like little snippets on Snapchat when I see cute stuff, or like when I want to be like, like this character's annoying me and stuff. But I started just in the 100 pages. It was like I wanted to talk about it more than I usually talk about other books. Like usually a couple pictures of some paragraphs will suffice, but this one I need to discuss, and I'm only 100 pages in. So first thing, this might be immature of me to say, but fuck Deja. They have 2 kids, Deja and Kasim. Kasim is younger. Deja is 13. I don't know how Kasim is. He's in 5th grade. Yeah, he's in 5th grade, but how old that is, I can't remember. And then Deja's in 8th grade and she's 13. Deja is a fucking asshole to her mom. The book is so good and so layered because Deja is an ass to her mom, and you see it like from the get-go and you don't think much about it. But then Yasmin and Josiah, the parents, they kind of talk to each other about it, and Josiah even kind of goes on to imply that Yasmin is sensitive, and I'm like, as a reader, I'm reading this book and I'm like, Yasmin is not sensitive. Deja is an asshole. And this is dual POV. So some chapters are Yasmin and some chapters are Josiah. And right when that happened and he implied that she was sensitive, I was like, oh no, I'm starting to see why she divorced him. And then he's starting to get into a relationship with this chef in their restaurant that they own. They both own a restaurant together. And even how he's handling that, it was just so clear to me why she would get a divorce. And even as I'm reading, I was like, I want a man to read this so I can talk about this with them and see if they relate to the man, because the way the man is written seems so canonical in how we know men to be. But I'm like, this can't be acceptable. Not to say he's a horrible person, because as I'm reading, he is realizing things. Like Deja went and said something to him about her mom, and he was like, that seemed kind of rude, or am I just being over dramatic? And then she went on and said another thing that was really batshit crazy, like can't even deny, and he was like, don't talk about your mother like that. So period. And I think he's realizing it. And I think even when he said, don't talk about your mother like that, he even thought maybe I should have defended Yasmin more when we were together. So he's really growing from the start of this book, but obviously it's like too little too late. And that's why divorce happens, poor communication and yada, yada, yada. But I want a man to read this book so I can discuss with them how Josiah's behavior is not okay and why Yasmin going for divorce makes sense. When I was first reading the book, I was like, maybe there's something I'm missing here. She's kind of talking about how he was pushing back at every step of the divorce, and I'm thinking, this man loves you, so why would you divorce him? You know what I mean? Something I love to talk about with people is the question, is love enough? And I think it's not, but it is. And I don't want to take up too much time to discuss that here, but in my mind, it is, because if you really, 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 really love someone, you will do what you need to do to keep the love alive and stuff like that. And both parties have to do that. But I won't deny that Josiah loved Yasmin, but he was not willing to do things to keep their marriage together. And in my opinion, that's ultimately what led to divorce. Like he did not feel the need to grow. You can tell he was seeing himself as like, I have no issues type thing. He didn't even want to, I guess this will segue. It's hard because everything connects so good. Beautiful writing, by the way. Like, props to this girl. I'm gonna read everything she fucking writes because this is beautiful. And the mood was set, and like she was depressed for a couple years. I think it was like around the same 2-year mark because of the stillborn and the aunt dying. And you can tell the book is starting from her just coming out of it. And I know exactly what that feels like. I could get emotional about it, but to wake up from a depression and the what's the word? The disassociation that comes with it is such a bittersweet feeling. And that is exactly how this book starts. Oh my God, I'm only 100 pages in, and this one is it's just so good. And even though I'm fully talking shit about Josiah because fuck men and why do they act like this sometimes, he's growing. So like they're both growing, so it's like I cannot hate him. But it's so crazy to read the book and be like, but Josiah, why couldn't you realize these things before? And the segue I was talking about was Josiah, you could tell he did not have the growth mindset that he needs. And I know that growth is in right now. Growth is kind of in right now the same way woke was in a couple years ago, and everybody wanted to be annoyed by it and stuff. But really, it had good intention, and we all should have been trying to be woke. But now the meaning got kind of dressed down when really the original meaning was pure and should be encouraged. Whoa, brain fart because I was going off so hard. So, woke, growth mindset. Growth mindset is what's happening now, or maybe like a year or two ago, where everybody wants to be on a growth mindset now. But now when people talk about growth or post about growth and stuff, you kind of look at them like, oh, they're being dramatic and stuff. They are not being dramatic. Read this book and just think about what could have been for them prior to the divorce if Josiah was open to growth. Not to say Yasmin was, because I don't know much about how Yasmin was doing around that time, but it sounds like she was depressed and in a dissociative state. Y'all hear that? Tornado warning. My dad was like, okay, my phone says a tornado warning, so don't sit by a window. He went to his room. The window's right by his bed. So I went to my room too. I was not about to go into the basement. Like, we don't even use our basement like that. But yeah, it's so bittersweet to read and think about what could have been if Josiah had been more open to things. For example, what I've been trying to segue to for the last 3 minutes is therapy. She finally settled on therapy, and before they divorced, she begged this man to do couples therapy with her, and he denied. And it's like, you want to stay together, but you won't do a couple therapy sessions to try and improve the relationship. That's why I'm like, because for a second I was thinking maybe Yasmin was wrong to divorce this man, but just seeing how stuff is playing out, I'm like, she tried. And it seems like he did not try. I haven't seen anything about him trying other than saying, I don't want a divorce. You know, that's not enough. And that's why when I say love is enough, love is like a spectrum, I feel like. And I'm obsessed with love. I don't know if I've said that before. Like, literally, I have like a favorites list on my phone because I forget everything. So I keep a list of everything that's my favorite. And my favorite thing in existence is love. And even my Instagram bio, there's a question on there that says, do you believe in love? Because I think love is such a interesting topic that people don't understand. And it's tatted on my chest. And I have a heart right here. Y'all think I'm playing with this love shit, but I'm really not. I could delve into this topic for days. I think it's a spectrum. And I think love is enough when you reach the ultimate end of the spectrum. But I think, like, in a society, we be living in, like, the 50 to 80% range. And I don't know if it's when we fully mature that we start to be okay with, like, doing what we need to do to get to that 100 and stuff. But it just seems like getting to 100 is almost, like, impossible, is what it seems like. But I don't believe that it is. I believe in love more than I doubt it. So I think all the things I think about when I think of 100% love at the end of the spectrum, then I do believe love is enough. Everything will work out. Love will make you do what you need to do to, like, be with the person you love or stay friends with the person you love. And sometimes you think, like, when people walk away from situations, did they not try enough? And I don't think so. I think Yasmin did try enough. Also, I do think they're going to get back together. That's just my guess, but I don't know yet. But you can only do so much. That's why it's like people will be talking about it takes two to do something. And that's why I feel like two people involved need to be at 100% on the spectrum of love for it to work out gracefully. And I don't know if Yasmin was at 100%, but let's say she was at a good 95%. She really, really tried. And she was depressed, and she was in a dissociative state. And this girl still tried. But she even said that once they were divorced, there was a relief because it wasn't two things she needed to fight for anymore, the marriage and herself. At this point, it was just herself. And she went and she did that, and she worked on herself, and she is building herself back up. So maybe a little bit of her did give up. But if the other person is dragging you down, and I feel like that's what Josiah was doing, it was giving... like 75% and she's at a 95 and it's unbalanced, of course the love is not going to be enough. You know what I mean? Cool. I could rant about that for days, but I had another brain fart. Do I really know where I'm at? What else is there to be said? I think Hendrix is my favorite character, which is another reason why I know I want to rate this book a 5 out of 5 already, because when people talk about favorite characters and they say a side character, I'm always like, like, what does that even feel like? Like, I never even relate to that. But the writing is so good. My favorite character actually can be a side character, which is Hendrix. And love Hendrix down. She's super real. She's just real, like, period. I love her. Vashti, the girl that Josiah is kind of starting to get to know. I will never blame somebody for liking somebody, but she could have been a little bit more realistic. And it's not always easy to see when two people still have something going on. But I think part of her is telling herself to ignore it, and that's not the smartest thing. I think on TikTok there's been a trend where it says you're too full of life to be somebody's maybe, and that's what Vashti needs to learn. Because if she can even look at the two of them and at all feel in competition with the ex-wife, she should not be in that situation. But I'm not gonna drag her for that, because not to say we've all been there, but we all could easily be there, like, literally. Like, it's so easy to be there. Obviously there's kind of like rose-colored glasses when you're in certain situations or you have feelings for someone, so it's not as easy to see. But as somebody who is the reader of this book, and I can clearly see everything that's going on, somebody needs to take those rose-colored glasses off her before reality does it for her instead, and that would hurt more. Reality would slap her in the face when maybe she could have a friend or something just take the glasses off. What else to be said? Fuck Deja. Love Kasim. Kasim seems so sweet. At one point, Yasmin was even like, I wonder what Josiah did to avoid I guess, like, Deja's wrath, because it's like Deja would be so sweet to her daddy, but such a fucking bitch to her mom. And I truly just think it's because Deja is bitter about the divorce and she knows her mom initiated it. But it is so crazy, like, there's no grace for her mom at all. And that's confusing to me. Maybe it will come, but from the first 100 pages, I haven't seen her show her mom any grace. And it's just like, damn, like, are teenagers really that heartless? But yeah. I think I said most of what I wanted to say. I don't know if I'll update every 100 chapters or not, but beautiful book. Like, this deserves the hype. And you ever read a book and you realize I've been drowning in mediocre books when I could be reading books like this? But I don't mind the mediocre books because it's always fun finding the diamonds in the rough and stuff. And I want to read anyway, whether it's a mediocre book or a beautiful book. I do wish if all of my books could be this beautiful, I would love that. But I understand that life just does not work that way, and it would be impossible to find perfect books all the time. But this is a good one. And this is like, it makes me hope that the next books I have to read are as good as this, even though I can feel like they probably won't be. Am I crazy to say, like, this might be, when people say, like, oh, this might be the book of the year, this might be it for me. Even though I am not, you know how I said I read synopsises and I decide what I want to read again? I do not like no break up and get back together. I feel like this is more like a high school ideal that I had, and maybe I'm growing out of it now. But to me, if y'all are going to take a break or you're going to break up, don't get back together. So I never read books like that. But I will say, I think I'm in the process of growing out of that sentiment. And I do see benefits of taking breaks from people and stuff and coming back to each other when you're better for it. But like, for that to be the book and for me to say this might be my book of the year, crazy. Like, I'm 100 pages in. I could even not finish the book and I would still be like, book of the year. That's crazy. Love this book. Okay, you guys, I think I'm gonna end it on that good note, hopefully, because y'all know I'm talking big game and I'm only 100 pages in. This is my first 100 pages were so good to me. Even if the book fucks me up at the end, I could never hate it. And it is, let me just call it my book of the year now. That's what it is. Beautiful, beautiful. I think I have more of her books lined up, but I'm gonna put all her books in my want to read. This is great. This is great. And I wish I could post this now, but I do really want to finish the book and have it all in one video. Like, I don't want to just post this. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I think I talked about most things, and the reviews you get from me after I've read the whole book are never this detailed because it's like a whole book to remember and I can't remember everything. But since I only went over the first 100 pages, I think I probably hit most of the things. I love it. I love it. Okay, you guys, we'll see what happens when I read some more. The last thing that I want to add, I'm still at the same 100 pages. Nothing has changed. This is a couple seconds later. But the one thing I do want to add that I almost forgot was the author messages on it. My friend noticed this, not me. Colleen Hoover on the front, everybody put her because Colleen Hoover is popular. She said raw, real, magnificent. And then you go to the back, it says heart-searing, sensual, and life-affirming, breathtaking, gut-wrenching, viscerally romantic, a gorgeously poignant story of healing, family, and love. Beautiful things. And they put Colleen Hoover's raw, real, magnificent on the front. And I could tell you right now, I don't even think Colleen Hoover read the fucking book. The way her thing compared to these author's notes, not author's notes. I don't know what these are called. I used to know what these were called. I've heard what it's called before, but I don't know. But y'all put that on the front when you could have put heart-searing, sensual, and life-affirming. My friend pointed that out, and I thought that was so funny. But, like, that's weird. Two things as I read. Let me read this one line. Once, he says, his voice hoarse but controlled, eyes hot and unwavering. We do this once, get it out of our systems, and forget this night happened. That's the only way it works. LOL. Second one. He puts on a comment. I can read, I swear. He puts on a condom, and I almost laugh and ask him why. Why does he have okay. I was literally like, why does this man own condoms? But he was dating Vashti, so I guess it's not that crazy. But it's a little crazy. Why does he have condoms on him? Child, anyways. Quick check-in. I'm gonna just hold it the whole time. Here's the book. I have it laid out because I lost my bookmark around me. Also, I broke a second bookmark. I think I had 4, and I broke the second one while I was at work. So now I know how easy they can actually break. So hopefully I don't do that again. It's been 2 days since I last recorded. Day 2, I didn't read, I don't think, but then I read during work, and I've been reading this evening, so I'm at page 262, so I read like 162 pages since I last recorded. Let me gather my thoughts. Okay, 1, I have been trying to understand their situation more and really not choose a side, but I feel like it's obvious that I already chose Yasmin's side. But we did see what happened the night that C read. What do I say? If I say C, y'all know I read it, but you know, it's like I live it when I read it. But books are beautiful in that way. Anyways, so we see how the divorce was brought up, and honestly, my videos are never spoiler free, but I think how I'm gonna say it is fine anyway. But when he painted that wall, you guys, I don't know how I could ever be on his side. Like, I really don't. I really don't. And I think that they're both accepting faults for like what went wrong and stuff. And a lot of the conversation has been the way they grieved was just very incompatible. But it just feels like more than that. It also feels like, 1, they actually were never good communicators. Like, even when they argue, that's one thing I would like to see changed by the end of this book. Even when they argue, it's like the author adds like a sexual tension to it, or almost acts as if it's like, not cute is not the right word, but you know, if you talk like me, you get it when you're like, oh, that's not cute. But like the book almost tries to make it seem like it's cute, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like when they argue, it's never cute to me. Or like sometimes they'll be about to argue about something. Someone will say something very triggering, and the next thing you know, there's sexual tension in the air, and like that's just not it for me. The thing is, it does seem like stuff they can fix. Like, it does seem fixable. I think, like I said when I was talking before about like the spectrum of love, it's really like the more you love someone, the more you're willing to do what you need to do. But also, I guess what I've noticed is that there's definitely a balance, like, because it's 2 people. It's like the spectrum, but also 2 different people's spectrum, and how it balances out. Kind of like with the grief and incompatibility they were talking about. But you know one thing? Yasmin keeps okay, this is gonna sound, I feel like this whole video is gonna be like me taking Yasmin's side, but when she takes accountability for her faults, a lot of it is she wishes she got herself back together sooner. But before divorcing, weren't you begging this man to go in therapy and stuff for months? And I think I mentioned it before that she had said once they divorced, she finally felt like she could focus on fixing herself and not fixing herself and the marriage. So I think when she kind of beats herself up for taking so long to get herself together, I think she tried to get her marriage together first, and then it didn't work, and then she started working on herself, and that worked. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's as, not to say they're painting it out to be, but I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I'm really trying to like even the playing field. I think even when the conversation where she brings up the divorce was iffy, and for a second I was like, I can kind of see where Josiah's coming from. But honestly, I'm gonna be so for real. I think I read that. I don't know when I read that, but I don't really remember that argument that well. But I almost was like on Josiah's side for a second, but when he painted that wall, it was just like, no. You know what I mean? Even though I'm in a more critiquing mood, like obviously the first 20 minutes of this is me elated and stuff, I still think it's a beautiful book, and I still love how it's crazy because I'm in the middle of the book, but the fact that the start is her coming out of like a depression and dissociation she's been in for 2 years, if not more, I think. I love that about the book because I relate to it so much, but also I think you start books a lot from like a random day or whatever, or sometimes it feels like a random day. And this one, it felt like a random day, but also not. Like, it felt like the day she started like waking up from her dissociative state after years of being in it. And I like that a lot. I love that a lot. Yeah. I'm trying to think of books that like didn't start from a random day. Sometimes they they don't, like, it's a day like, oh, the day of this is happening, like a holiday or something. But like it always feels kind of like, oh, you had to start there because that's what your story is about, I guess. But the beginning of this book feels more methodical. The way the beginning of this book really feels like when you wake up in the morning, similar to how it feels when you wake up from a dissociative state. Like, that's how it felt for me, at least. What else is there to be said? Where I'm at, I'm shocked that, I think before in the now I'm thinking, I had to get my brain whirring. But in the beginning, I talked about how I'm not really for the breaking up and getting back together. And as I was reading the book, I kind of still feel the same way. Like, it just feels like, I'm gonna keep saying it, but you guys, when he painted that wall, and I'm not saying there isn't anything she did where I was like, oh, this is too far gone to come back from. Like, she probably did, and maybe I don't remember it or something. But like, some things, I really feel like you do have to kind of be like, no. You know what I mean? Like, when he painted that wall, I was really like, no. Like, I was just like, no. I'm glad that it's giving. They can probably forgive each other for that type of thing. But did I mention that it seemed like, yeah, I think I just said that it seemed like they were never good communicators in the first place. Like, they had a night where they got drunk and really, like, what did she call it? Radical honesty. Like, they had a really honest conversation about the time that led to their divorce. And it was like, I know that they were going through a lot at that time, but it was like, just based on what I've read and like the past stuff they've shown us or the dynamic they've shown us, it seems like even despite the fact that they were going through two traumatic events around the same time, they even then would never have been capable of having the type of conversation they just had, which is so interesting. So I'm still trying to figure out, I guess, what I think about like the whole breaking up and getting back together, because this really is not my trope. Like, this is not my trope at all. I think I resonate a lot more with Yasmin's like growth, and I guess Josiah's too, but I don't know. That's another thing. I really wonder like how growth occurs in men, or even like not even just men. I guess people who aren't me. I would like to think that girls are similar to me, but something about men, even the way Josiah is written, I think I mentioned it before, where it seems so canonical to a man, but it's like disappointing. So I'm like, is your guys' growth journey like really this disappointing and slow? Like, oh my God. Like, I'm honestly just trying to figure it out. I even posted on Instagram, I was like, I want a man to read this so I can like ask them questions about it, but I don't have anybody who I can really force to read this right now. And somebody said they would read it. Granted, I'm pretty sure dude is only reading it because he has a crush on me, but I do want to pick his brain on it if he actually reads it. And also, if he actually reads it, that makes me feel bad, because reading a whole book because a girl you like posted about it, that's not bad at all. The bad part is that I don't reciprocate the feelings. That's when I'm like, but I'm gonna talk with you about the book though. I do want to talk about that. I would love to talk about that. But I'm like, I hope that's not his only intentions. Like, I hope there's also genuine curiosity, and I hope he actually enjoys the book separate from me having anything to do with it. It almost feels like I read too much. It's not that I read too much. I was reading during work, and that was hours ago, and I've slept since then. So some of the stuff I read is not as fresh on my mind. Deja has not been as much of a bitch, but I feel like that's because she hasn't, you know what I want to say? She hasn't had as much screen time, but it's a book. But I'm still going to talk like that, but y'all just remember it's a book. But Deja hasn't had as much screen time, so she hasn't had as much time to be a bitch. I fuck with Yasmin's mom, but I'm also like, as a mom, I guess because I'm iffy about breaking up and getting back together, it's interesting to see her mom encourage it. But I understand that, I guess in this book, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, when I was reading this book, I was like, I feel like sometimes we romanticize stuff that we shouldn't. And one thing I was thinking about was when Michelle Obama said she didn't like Barack for years. And I think I had seen a TikTok in the past. I was like, that is not ideal. And like, we really romanticize stuff that is just like not good. And I feel like that's how I feel about this whole trope of like breaking up and getting back together. I feel like we're kind of romanticizing and encouraging something I'm not sure we should. Because what I wanted to say was that sometimes love can really be so palpable that of course you want those two people to get back together. Or like everyone has this vibe that like ever since they divorced, they never felt like those people were really separated, I guess. And that's just, I don't know if it's like I can't relate or what. But I wouldn't even say I can't relate because there are people who I have like left in the past. And if they were to come back, I would be open to it. But they never really left each other alone. Maybe they did though. Like I wasn't here for the last 2 years. Like it's just talked about in the book, and it maybe there was a distance. I think I would need like 5 hours of discussion to have like clear thoughts on this book and like life in general. I really understand where Josiah is coming from, where he's like, she left me when I would have never left her, and now I'm like, I don't want to give myself back to her just for her to do that again. That's a really relatable feeling. I get that. I get that a lot. So I don't even blame him for being so cautious about going back. But I wish he saw how damaging he might have been more clearly. And I think he's starting to see it, but it's just like, why is Yasmin doing it faster than him? It kind of goes with like when everybody tells you like, oh, men mature later than women. We give men too much grace generally. Like at that point I don't even think it's grace. I think it's like we fucking baby them. Like, is this the patriarchy? Like, I mean, it is the patriarchy, but like, oh my god, like we give them so many excuses to not better themselves. Like, what the fuck? It's like our expectations are on the ground when it comes to men. Like, and that is so annoying. I don't know. I think I love the book from Yasmin's perspective, but we are also given Josiah's, and we're also like led to grow with the both of them. But Josiah's is just disappointing me. Not even him, it's society. It is always society. Like, society always disappoints me so much. And it's just like, ugh. Because even though obviously y'all know I be giving Yasmin's side, right? But I'm still empathizing a lot with Josiah, but at the same time I think that it almost like books like this and stuff, even though I know the author meant no harm, I feel like society brainwashes us to accept things that we shouldn't. But also because I can read this book and still discuss things, I don't want to say like it's a bad book for society, because I think in the future one day we can read the book and just be like exactly what I'm saying right now. So maybe I should just chill out because yeah, because I can question Josiah freely, but I guess my concern is like people are reading this book and like feeling for Josiah, which is so fucked up to say, and me being like, don't feel for Josiah and stuff. But I just want to encourage everybody to genuinely please put men at the same standard that you put women. Like, that's it. Like, I just feel like reading this book, it just feels like they are not on the same level with expectations and stuff like that, and just please put them on the same level. Like, please, because I'm tired. Being a girl is not easy. Like, when they really say I'm just a girl, it's not even just, bruh. Like, girl, do you know how much we carry just from being a girl? Like, I think that the fact that she kind of takes care of the kids and he takes care of the business is kind of good, though, because, well, not necessarily good, but I would say in the real world, the girl would be taking care of the business and the kids. And then the dude would be helping with the business a bit and feeling like he's running the whole thing. Like, if we're being so for real. But like, I am glad that like Yasmin doesn't have to really worry about the business as much because of Josiah. But I just know she could have had both and would have handled both. Because, as I said, I feel like the expectations are higher for girls. But if it was Josiah and he had to handle both, that's when I'm like, could he? You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Where am I right now? I finished the one bed trope episode. I keep talking about it like it's a show and it's a book, but I feel like that's a good way to put it. I finished the one bed trope episode. I don't want to speak on that too much because even though these are not spoiler free, I don't want to like give the whole book away. But it's a good place to take a break because now it's like, okay, now we have to think and reflect and make decisions. The book makes me really hungry because it talks about food so much. I really want to get steak and potatoes. I also want to get Indian food. They just ordered Indian food in the book, and I'm like already planning on getting Indian food for lunch, and I'm being so dead ass when I say that. I also am not a fan of them both dragging in outside parties like Vashti and Mark, but it would have made more sense if that was like not both of them at the same time. And I know you could argue that Yasmin was doing it to get back at Josiah, but I just think, like I said, the book starts from feeling like waking up in the morning, and it just feels normal and casual. But then for them to both start dating around the same time felt very less natural than the beginning of the book. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, the book is like waking up in the morning, da 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 da, and then stuff happens that feels more calculated, and it's like, huh, you know what I mean? But I know it's a book though, and I know it's like a storyline to follow. But like that was like one of the more unnatural things of the book was like them both dating people and then them basically at the same time deciding they don't want to do that anymore. And then the one bed trope thing was also very much did not feel natural at all. Even when it was happening, I was like, it's one of, you know, when you're like in a book and you feel really immersed and you feel like it's a realistic world. When the one bed trope thing was happening, I kind of woke up and I was like, okay, I'm reading a book. You know what I mean? Because what's like be so for real. Like that one, but we all know that trope, but it was like I feel like they did not have to do that. Like they could have done the same stuff with them still in separate rooms. They literally could have. Like they did not have to do the one bed thing at all. I think them not having been stuck with one bed would have made the story way more organic. It could have been like one room but there were two separate beds, or they could have literally had two separate hotel rooms like they were supposed to, and the same stuff could have happened in my opinion. Yeah, I love Kasim. Hendrix hasn't gotten screen time either, but love Kasim, love Hendrix. I'll give those two like two favorite characters. I also like Max. I don't know what his name is. Milky. Yeah. But he's not in it a lot, but I just feel for the guy whenever they talk about him. And Otis. See, that's how you know it's a good book, because I never talk about side characters the way I'm talking about side characters for this one. And before it was just Hendrix, and now I'm listening, I'm like, I like this one, this one, this one, this one. It's crazy because I think I'm reading the book and I'm aware of the issues that they have. Like I said, I want a man to read the book so I can see if they're aware. But I understand that not everyone's aware and not everyone matures at the same pace. So maybe it's fair that these main characters themselves don't mature at the same pace to me. But then it's also like they're like 20 years older than me. So it's also like, why are we not communicating? Like, but I'm like, I'm trying to be understanding of that. So then when I say that not everybody matures at the same way, right? But love can kind of be on its own timeline outside of this whole maturing thing, right? That's why I'm trying to be like empathetic to the fact that like I should allow them to grow with each other with less judgment. But it's like divorce is so final in my opinion, where I'm like, now y'all want to double back. And also like 2 years after, that's another reason why I'm so shocked, because I'm like, now y'all want to double back? Like what, you had 2 whole years? But I know that like part of it is because, like I said, Yasmin is coming out of her depression. But 2 years is wild. Yeah, it's interesting. It makes me wonder like what areas I could grow in and how aware of them I am and will be in the future. How that will mix with me and somebody else. Like will I have huge problems with somebody that like are so clear to others but not clear to me. Is this a lot for you guys? This is generally how I think, but I'm like, as I'm asking these questions, I'm like, I feel like I sound very, is the word, would it be better to say melodramatic or just dramatic? I'll just say dramatic, because mellow seems like sad. I think I just sound dramatic, but like I'm genuinely wondering, like, but that's why I feel like when I say that the standards held in this book just don't seem right, I would hope that in my life we actually try. It just felt like Josiah did not try. Like, that's why I'm so like, oh my God. I don't know, like premarital counseling, or I don't know. It just seems like they were so oblivious to their own issues. Not even their own issues, but their issues as a couple. And I'm like, that just seems off to me. I don't know, you guys. I'm starting to like, I can't gather my thoughts on the topic anymore, and it's late. But I guess mid-book check-in, and then I think the next time I talk about it, I'll probably be done with the book. I'm like confused. This is what it looks like when I'm trying to, I guess, learn about myself and my own beliefs, or trying not even learn about them, but trying to figure out my own beliefs. Like, I just really don't know, and I'm open to any answer, but like trying to calculate it myself is like, oh. But I don't have many people to debate this stuff with. It's a problem. That's why I understand when people like not even want 1 million subscribers for the fame or anything, but just because if I had viewers, I could have these conversations with people in the comments. But I can't, unless this video goes viral or something for some reason. But if Kennedy Ryan sees this, I can help you rewrite that one bed trope, because like I said, there was no reason for that to happen unless you just wanted to keep that trope in. Because I can't lie, I do fuck with the one bed trope, but just not in this scenario. Like, it just did not need to happen. It made the book very booky when before the book was very lifey. You know what I mean? So yeah, for that movie, just let them get their 2 separate hotel rooms, and then one of them goes to the other room. Like, it's really that simple. And then what else? I was about to be like, Deja doesn't have to be a bitch, but I think it's part of the story, so Deja can stay a bitch. But it's just like, she's very bitchy. Also, like the Mark and Vashti thing, that was like a good part of it. I think the thing that is like, it was like both of them. Like, I think Mark Lancaster, that was the one that was like, that didn't really need to happen. And also the fact that he was white, I'm gonna just leave it at that. But like, Mark just did not, I think if it was just Vashti, because Mark made like little to no difference, for real. Now I have more thoughts because I'm thinking like for the movie, but like, what else can I say? Oh my God, if you have the movie, don't take out Aunt Bird. And then if you have Milky, give us more of Milky, I think. And then like Preach is like, I think we need to know about Preach because we know about Hendrix and Soledad, but maybe more of Preach too. But I know that movies are limited time, so that's why I'm like, I feel like I can't ask for too much more of more people. You know, limited series would be a good idea. Anyways, you guys, I generally need to stop. This is very long, and I feel like I'm literally just, train of thought is the last 30 minutes, so I'm gonna leave y'all alone. I want to say good night, but who knows when you're watching this video. I'm recording at night, but you could be watching this in the morning. Should I order some food before I start this? Because I should be waiting for food while I'm talking about the book. Be right back. But you know. Food ordered. If you're wondering, I ordered myself Skyline, a 5-way, French fries, and Sprite because I'm out of juice in this house right now and I don't feel like going to Crookers. But we're gonna wrap up this conversation about this book. I had so much to say in the beginning and I kind of ended on a flat note. Not to say the book isn't good, because I still believe the book is good and like beautifully written and has a lot to say and can be very thought-provoking. There's like multiple reasons why this book ended flat for me. Part of it, I think personally, I was just not in the same headspace as when I started this book. This book actually ended up taking me a longer time to finish because my day-to-day, I listen to audiobooks while I'm at work, but when it comes to physical books, those take me a bit longer, and this one ended up taking me a lot longer than planned. I feel like just watching my energy change, you can tell when I'm reading it around the same time, and then now it's been like at least a month, if not multiple months since then, and my energy is back low, like the vim is gone. And so that might just be my own fault because I didn't finish it when I could have. But I also am a little bit like, I feel like the book just lost its vim too around the time I took a break from it. But this is not spoiler free, I don't think. I remember talking about my favorite characters and stuff like that. By the end of it, I don't want to say I didn't care anymore because I still cared. Like, I still love the book, I really do, but I just lost my energy that I had for the book. I really don't know where it went. I still love the book though. I still gave it 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. It's just, yeah. I think I stopped right when the main characters started fucking again. So let me check their names. Yasmin and Josiah. Yeah, when Yasmin and Josiah basically like start getting back together, that's like a little bit where it fell a little bit flat for me, but that's also where I paused. But for me, it was just kind of like, not to say everything once they started sleeping together again was like expected, but like I think we all knew where it was going from that point. Before that, we knew it was going to lead to this, but it was like the climb to get there was kind of good, I think. Like, it wasn't too focused on them getting back together per se. I don't know. I was really interested in learning about their lives post-divorce, and specifically Yasmin post like depression, and even Josiah getting into therapy. Like, that was the main interest for me, and it was almost like less about them getting back together for me, if that makes sense. But like, I feel like them getting back together was like what was webbing all the stories together, but I was more interested in like their independent stories. Yeah, but I still love the book. I don't know, I feel like we're gonna end it on a flat note, and if it feels like it's on a flat note, part of the reason is I genuinely don't even remember all the stuff I said before. I just know that I had a lot to say and my vim was like up here, but as of right now I haven't even rewatched everything I said, and like I genuinely don't remember all the stuff I said. But I guess, yeah, I feel like the stuff I said in the beginning was like very thought-provoking, and I had like a lot of thoughts that I wanted to share, so I'm excited for people to hear those thoughts. Honestly, this is what we're gonna do. I'm going to go edit the video and watch all the stuff I had to say in the beginning and see how I feel about it now that I'm done with the book. Yeah, but I know one thing I talked about was their daughter. I can't remember her name. This is so embarrassing, guys. You're probably like, did she even read this book? Like, I swear I read this book. But since I read this book, I've finished the Harry Potter series, like the last 4 books. Like, I've listened to so many audiobooks. Like, I listen to an audiobook almost every day at work, so it's just like stuff can get kind of muddled. But like, I know I love this book, and I think in the future, I always imagine a future where I'm like less busy and I really have time to reminisce on stuff. Not that I don't have time to reminisce on stuff now, but just the place where I am in my life right now, I'm never able to go back and rewatch stuff and reread stuff. Like, I can just, it's not like I don't have time. Like, I have the time to do that, but I just always feel like there's something new for me to look at, and like when I rewatch stuff, it just doesn't hit the way it needs to. So I always imagine like when I'm like 35, like I'll have free time and or maybe not even have free time, but just like I won't be still searching for something new and like searching for new feelings and stuff, but more so going back and watching the stuff that I loved or reading the stuff that I love. So I feel like in the future I could see myself going back and rereading this again in that time. But for now, I'm not gonna read it anytime soon. I'm excited to read the next book. Hopefully the next book brings back all those feelings I got when I was first reading this book too, but we'll see. Honestly, we'll see. So yeah, I know one thing I remember is what I had to say about Deja. I really was not fucking with Deja. I finally got to hear Deja's point of view, which I'm glad we got to see. I don't know if when I was reading it then that I knew she would have like an outburst and we would hear about it. That's like, I feel like that's pretty common in storytelling, so I wasn't too surprised, but I still was excited to hear what Deja's opinion on everything was. I think when I read the scene that was like the day Yasmin decided she wanted her divorce, that was super eye-opening. First of all, I don't know if I recorded when I was reading that, but I think I did, because I feel like that was around the time I had all this energy when I was reading the book. That scene was crazy, and like, not like it cleared everything up, but it was like, it made you understand both the characters like so much. But I think part of me knew that like that conversation was why Deja was acting the way she was. Like, I think when you hear about that night and when you're reading about that night, they're also talking about how they oftentimes like go to the garage so the kids don't hear and stuff, so you just know like the kids hear it. Like, you know when books say stuff like that and you're just like, Okay, so that is basically telling us that the kids have in fact heard them arguing. So I think I just knew that like Deja overheard that conversation and stuff. Do I think her behavior was valid? No, but I understand that I guess teenagers act crazy is how we like as a society seem to have come to an understanding about. And wow, my order was already picked up. I feel like that was fast. I'm excited, but yeah, I think I don't know. I don't remember what it feels like to be a teenager. You know what I mean? So when I see teenagers acting out like that, it's hard for me to empathize because I don't remember being that wild. I remember some wildness, but like I don't know. I guess what I think was anytime I might have come off like Deja, I probably felt that whoever was receiving that deserved it, and I guess that's how Deja felt, but I don't know. And it is hard around that time to see or like to be able to recognize an adult struggling. So I guess I kind of get it. But yeah, let's go rewatch everything I said, and I might take notes and discuss more of my thoughts post reading the whole book. But yeah, those are my thoughts so far that I can recall. Okay, it's not the same day. This is post edit. I was editing it like all day, and this is like my second run. I did like a speed run edit weeks ago, and then I did today like for realsies because I want to get the video up. But I've seen everything I had to say. It's been even longer since I finished the book, but I think I don't have much more to add. I think back then I was more in denial about the fact that the book fell flat for me towards the end, but now I'm like it's fine. But I was so obsessed with it within the first 100 pages that I feel like the book earned its 5 out of 5, and I knew that I was gonna leave it 5 out of 5 whether the book was weird or not. I don't know where the camera is, so if you're like she's looking to the side because it looks like where's the camera? It's right there. I'm on my iPad right now. But let me take my notes. Deja was still a bitch even if we got her why. Yeah, we found out she overheard the conversation, and the conversation was crazy, but you missed your dad painting the wall. So, not to say, you know what I mean, but just like, it wasn't surprising at all. We knew that was happening. Like I mentioned before, we knew that she probably overheard that conversation or the arguments, and like, that's why she was hating on her mama, but still, like, okay. The side characters fell off, like, all of them. Like, honestly, like, they literally, what? The one bed trope happened, and then it was like, that's like literally where the story like stopped for me. Not like it stopped, but like they stopped involving everybody else is what it felt like. So I can't even like all the faves that I had of and stuff. It's like they don't even stick like that for me anymore because it's like they went away. Like they were barely in the rest of the book, and like you didn't get information on them at all. Sorry, this last clip is a mess, but we're trying to wrap this up. Vashti fell off with a quickness, but he broke up with her with a quickness. I want to say I would love to have heard that conversation, but I'm also like, we didn't need to. But I feel like they would show that conversation in the movie. So that'd be cool to see, like him breaking up with her. But I hope they don't give her a dramatic exit where she's like, I knew you were still in love with her, da da da. Vashti gave cool, calm, and collected, and I hope they keep her that way where like, she knew that man was gonna leave her. She knew. And then, like I said, I had mentioned it before that the book, I was really holding on to Josiah's journey, Yasmin's journey, like their separate journeys. And like specifically Jasmine coming out of her depression and Josiah going to therapy. But mostly Yasmin, did I say Jasmine? I meant Yasmin. Yasmin coming out of her depression because that was more detailed. Like they did not give us much detail on Josiah in therapy because it really went from 0 to 100 with the therapy. Like it was like he was against it and then he did it for Kasim and then all of a sudden he's running to his therapist unannounced for help. You know what I mean? Like it went from 0 to 100 and it's crazy because if I remember correctly, the book was dual POV, so it's like y'all gave us all that with Yasmin, but not with Josiah. If you're wondering what this is, I just put some like healing ointment on my chest because there was a rash there and I was itching it, so I'm trying to calm it down. But yeah, it was a good book. It was a good book, and like, just if you watched this whole video, I had so many thoughts that I just wanted to like discuss. So that was fun. Comment your opinions. Comment how you want the movie to be, kind of like how I did towards the end of this video where I was giving what I think the movie should have and what it shouldn't. Like I said, they should keep Vashti cool, calm, and collected because that was like her saving grace for me. Like I feel like if Is it weird when I actually look at the camera or no? But I feel like if they don't keep her cool, calm, and collected, then I'll really be like Vashti, like, girl, why was you even there? Mark Lancaster does not need to be in the movie. That was such a waste of time. The other side characters, it's like, don't let them fall off like y'all did before, but also maybe do, because it's not really about them. But I don't know, it was weird. But I still love the book. It is still my book of the year just because of how happy it made me, honestly. Like, we're not even talking about if the writing was good, even though I'm pretty sure the writing was good and stuff like that. We're not even talking about that. We're just talking about how it made me feel, and it made me feel 5 out of 5, and that's why I got it 5 out of 5. But let me know your thoughts. Wow, almost an hour long video again. I talk so much. Anyways,